Welcome to the AB Business Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Ashmit Bala, and I have many passions. But one is business and understanding how businesses work. Ever since a young age, I've been intrigued in businesses and how businesses work, in the complex journey of businesses. But I feel like many people don't understand how businesses work. And that's my goal. I want to teach people how different businesses work, such as how a dentist differentiates from a brokerage firm. That's my main goal. My purpose is to tell people how different businesses run across Middlesex County and how to run their own business one day. Thank you and enjoy this episode. Hi, welcome to the AB Business Buzz podcast. I'm here with Dennis Connors from NextGen Acting. How are you today, sir?
Good, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, first, what is NextGen Acting?
So, NextGen Acting, we are an acting school in East Brunswick and North Brunswick. We teach kids, teens, and adults, and we concentrate in a variety of acting disciplines such as on camera, voiceover, musical theater, improv, you name it.
What inspired you to make NextGen Acting?
Well, actually, since I was 8 years old, I knew that I wanted to be an actor. I started doing theater, I started singing and dancing and everything, and back then there weren't a lot of opportunities or resources for young actors to grow, to learn specifically acting as opposed to just musical theater or how to do some on-camera stuff. As I grew as a young actor and met all of these wonderful thespians in community theaters around New Jersey, I learned that it was not only a place to have a job, but also a community that really brought people in and empowered them and enriched them. And so to get back to the answer to your question is, those are the reasons I started it. I wanted to be a resource for other kids like me that were going through similar things that I went through, but then also to offer an environment in which they can thrive, where they felt comfortable making mistakes, being silly, and just having fun, being actors.
What interested you in acting at such a young age?
Well, I just like the attention, you know?
Yeah.
No. I love storytelling. When I was that young, there was a lot happening in the world, and it seemed like entertainers were bringing people together, that they were inspiring hope, that they let people know that things could be okay, and I wanted to help bring about that positive message. And then it just, one thing led to another. Like my nan said when I was younger, when you sing, your prayers count double.
Yeah.
So I feel like in acting, it's the same extension of it. When you do something you love, your vocation, your craft, you're making the world a better place.
Okay, so how is your experience in acting gonna help NextGen Acting?
How is my experience in acting help NextGen Acting? That's a really good question. I think that one of the main parts of NextGen Acting is that our instructors are all professional actors, singers, dancers. And so that gives the next generation, all of our students, insight in how acting is today, what the industry is like, what is necessary, and what is required. So I think that we bring that kind of insight into it.
Can you elaborate on your experience in the acting world and what you have done?
Yeah, I started out in musical theater and community theaters around New Jersey. Then I went off to college specifically for musical theater at Emerson up in Boston. There I fell in love with on-camera acting, with voiceover, with stage combat. So I switched gears a little bit. I went to Los Angeles for my final semester in college. I was an intern at ABC Casting, so I worked on a couple of shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., oh my God, Quantico. There was a bunch because it was pilot season, so everything was coming in and out. And then afterwards, I signed with some really fantastic agents, Atlas Talent, where I did a bunch of voiceover work. And then right before the pandemic, I got cast in my first major principal role in the movie The Canyonlands. And so, yeah, the pandemic messed up a few things, but kept getting some more roles and some podcasts and stuff, and then started up NextGen Acting.
Okay, so on the website, it says NextGen Acting offers a wide range of topics. How do you balance providing a holistic approach while making sure students receive specific attention? Because some students aren't as good as one thing than other students.
Absolutely. There's a lot of layers to that question. Yeah. So I'm gonna start broad and then I'll go specific. So I kind of see acting and a lot of the creative arts parallel to sports and athletes, right? So if I was a basketball player, you have some fundamental skills, right? You have to learn how to dribble, you have to learn how to pass, how to shoot, free throws, rebounds, all of those things, right? And not only that, you have the athletic skills that are required: strength, dexterity, agility. And then on top of that, you have to have all those mental skills. So you have to have resilience, you have to have toughness, you have to have grit, you need to have sportsmanship-like conduct. All of those things parallel acting in that you have to learn how to project, how to move with your body, how to really express a character and really figure out what choices make sense for the logic of the story that you're telling, right? So all of those skills are parallel, and I think that there are fundamental skills just like your ABCs or your 1, 2, 3s. But then each individual actor is different. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses. Some have stage fright. They might never get over their stage fright because they have anxiety. Like, for example, I have anxiety. Sometimes before any audition, my heart pumps and I like get out of control. I'm like, am I gonna do it? But then I found ways to like calm myself down and get over it. Because sometimes it never goes away, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? So it's really listening to what each actor needs when either in their scene or when they're doing an activity, and then talking to them about that and encouraging them in the most positive way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. So you teach all ages of people. How does it differ from children to adult, and what are some techniques you use with children, and what are some techniques you use with adults, which really differ from each other?
Absolutely. The funny secret is I like treat adults and kids very similarly, because at the end of the day, I want my classes to be fun. We learn the best when we're having fun, when we're not stuck in our head editing everything we're saying and doing. And so I always promote games. So any kind of lesson that I'm trying to teach, whether it's with a kid that's as young as 4 or some adults that I've worked with that are in their 70s, it's about turning it into a game. Now there is a difference between all the age groups, right? I can't give a Succession script to a 4-year-old. I can't give a Coco Melon script necessarily to Jeremy Strong from Succession. Why am I in a Succession mood? I don't know. But right, the content will have to change between different age groups, but the core elements are the same. Now with kids, they don't have the filters that we've grown as adults. Especially when you are end of middle school, beginning of high school, you really start judging yourself. The societal lens starts getting in on you, and you stop taking risks and experimenting and expressing yourself because you're trying to fit the societal mold. So I would say it's harder to work with older actors because of that mold. And it's so much fun when I work with actors that are retiring and they're shedding all of that off. They don't care anymore. And so it's actually like when I work with kids or when I work with retired people, there's the sense of freedom and exploration.
Yes, so it often seems like your classes are a community. How important is a community to NextGen Acting?
Community is everything. There's nothing that matters more than making sure that we feel like we have a space where people can take risks, where people can be themselves, where they can have fun. So one thing that I do when I have any student come in to start classes, I ask them, like, our community is about uplifting one another. We applaud the person who just performed, even if they didn't do the best job, because they need to be able to take risks. If we want to have these heightened emotions where we experience heartbreak, where we experience envy in a real way, in a genuine way, we have to be comfortable with the people around us as we explore. And so I really highlight that life is a rehearsal. There's not really a performance. And so all of our classroom experience are just rehearsals, the ability to try it over and over again until we get closer to what the truth is.
So you mentioned risks. Are there any specific risks you took when making NextGen Acting?
The obvious is financial risks. Not only, I still am working as an actor today, and I was working back then, but I was working for a variety of companies that were established. So I had to take the risk of starting something brand new where we didn't have a clientele, where we had to take financial risks. For example, last year, I decided to buy our sound booth so students could come in and do voiceover classes in an actual professional voiceover environment. And so that was a risk because I didn't know if it would pay off. There are no voiceover classes in New Jersey, really, and so that was a complete risk in and of itself. And then there's kind of like the imposter syndrome risk, where like you have to battle this inner demon that says, who are you to do this? Who are you to make this experience? Who are you to say that there needs to be a school here? But you know what? You just have to fight it head on, and you take that risk. And does it pay off? I think so. My students, when I see them grow, when I see them overcome an obstacle that they faced or make a new friend, there's nothing that fills me with more joy, honestly.
Okay, so you mentioned your students a lot. How do you connect them with industry professionals?
That's a good question. So, number one, it really depends on the program and it depends on the student. There are some people that try to study with me that are like, oh, can you get me an agent right away? And it's like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know what your capacity is. And to me, I have to put my name on the line whenever I'm talking to industry professionals. So a couple of things. Earlier this year, we had our Rising Star Resilience Project. And part of that project was to have master classes with industry professionals from Broadway, from video games, from Hollywood. And they were very, very successful. All those people that I brought in, I either worked with, I have studied with, or I knew just from past relationships, or I knew from a friend of a friend, because it's kind of weird. The entertainment industry is a lot smaller than you think. It is easy to get in touch with other people. So those master classes were really key in getting my students in touch with industry professionals. Just like how I went about searching for my agents when I was a younger actor, I employed the same exact methods. The good thing is I know some of these agents now where I can send them headshots and resumes of students that I think are of a high caliber. And this fall, we actually started our NextGen Acting Conservatory, which is our invite/audition-based program for students that are really taking it seriously. And in the spring, we're going to have invited industry guests to come in to work with the students on their audition materials, their monologues, cold reads, all of that. So I'm trying to leverage as much as I can from my own life to help my students, because the mentors that helped me when I was their age did the same thing for me.
So it seems like you have tons of connections there. How important is networking when you're an actor?
It's everything, right? So like, when I was younger, people said, don't get into acting. Don't get into the entertainment industry. You're not going to make money. There's very few jobs. And something that they would always say is you have to be at the right place at the right time, and it's all about who you know. Now, we all talk about Nepo babies. Yes, a lot of actors today are the kids or the nieces, nephews of people in the industry, because those people in the industry have the insights of how it works. They know the paths ahead. It's not like they teach how to become an actor in school, right? But networking kind of helps you bypass the road ahead that's treacherous, where you want people to know who you are, so you need to get to know other people. It's kind of weird. Other industries don't necessarily work in that same way, but if you're a small business, it's similar. You go to a chamber of commerce to meet other businesses, to collaborate, to get ahead, and to maybe share clientele. So it's more similar to a small business, if anything.
You mentioned the Chamber of Commerce and connecting with other businesses. Have you connected with other businesses, and if you did, how did it help?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce with NextGen Acting immediately, right after we started NextGen Acting. And because of it, we were able to host our classes with Playhouse 22 in East Brunswick. We frequently do events with East Brunswick for their town markets. So we've done improv workshops for them. We've got in touch with East Brunswick Mall. So we did a monthly improv jam for students 7 to 12. All those connections, like everything was because of a connection. So networking 100% matters. It matters in acting. It matters in small business. And I feel like there are too few people that are willing to take that risk just to reach out. Like, you reached out to me and emailed me to make this happen, right? That's how it works. You've got to, no one's going to come to you. You have to go and get it.
Yeah. So when starting a business, marketing is super important. For you, what marketing strategies have worked and which haven't worked?
SEO. SEO, search engine optimization. So I'll ask you a question. When you're trying to buy, let's say, what's the last thing you bought? You had to do a little research on it.
I got new AirPods recently.
New AirPods. Now, what was the first thing you did when you got the new AirPods?
I bought it off Amazon, so I looked at the reviews.
So you looked at the reviews. Now, how did you find the AirPods? Did you go directly to the link?
Yeah, I just searched up AirPods on Google.
So you had to search it on Google.
Yeah.
That's the first thing anybody does when they're buying anything. Most of the times, even before they search in Amazon or search it on YouTube, they search it on Google, even with AI, right? So my number one priority was coming up first on Google.
Yeah.
That has gotten me so much traffic and attention. Sorry I cut you off real quick, but got straight to the point. You were like, oh, search it on Google. Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Number two, like you were talking about before, is investing in community connections, right? Doing workshops with local libraries. I do a ton with East Brunswick Library. I've done a couple of workshops with South Brunswick Public Library in Monroe.
Okay.
Really leveraging these relationships. There are ways in which you can collaborate on a project or an event that might not necessarily be the service that you're offering directly, but it's like it's related in a way and helps get people to demo what you're doing in your business.
How do you make your business first on Google? Do you have to pay for that, or?
It took 2 years. So there's people that you can hire SEO experts. There's a bunch in the chamber. And their whole entire job is fixing up different things, the way things are worded on your website, what are H1s versus H2s, like header 1 versus header 2, what are you naming the pictures that show up on your website? Are you just leaving it as IMG057, or are you saying, this is a picture of actors in a teen acting class in New Jersey? Teen acting class in New Jersey. Keep using it over and over again, it shows up on Google. When you asked for the interview, one thing that I had asked, I was like, hey, in your description on your YouTube caption, could you put our link?
Yeah.
Google actually sees all the links on YouTube, and then it will prioritize if other people are linking to your website, they'll help rank you higher, and vice versa. If there's a high ranking link already and they link to you, that'll help boost your sales. So boost your sale like is in like a ship. So if I then link back to your website afterwards, then you're going to show up higher on SEO.
So for you in marketing, SEOs, it must have cost lots of money. How do you make sure your business stays profitable?
Ooh, hope all the time. No, I'm just kidding. Leveraging the different relationships. I mean, I guess the go-to advice is you need to diversify your income streams. I mean, that's totally legitimate, right?
Yeah.
So like making sure I have private lessons, right? Making sure I have group classes, making sure I can offer workshops to businesses, leadership workshops in addition to acting workshops, public speaking workshops. So figuring out different ways to just expand and to get money in different ways, because not everything's going to last forever. Sometimes wells do go dry, but there is always new wells to get water from, and you can desalinate the water in the ocean, so there's always a way forward.
You talked about expanding. What are your plans to expand NextGen Acting over the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I have big ambitions for NextGen Acting. I hope in the next year that we can expand our programs a little bit further for adult actors, so we can get into a couple more communities. I'm hoping that we can produce some more narrative projects. For example, we worked with the public library on a podcast last year. But more importantly, I think we need to go further in our online pursuits, offering classes that are accessible, that people can do on their own time. I really see that as a strong contender from where we go. And New Jersey itself is growing in terms of film opportunities. The state is investing a lot in terms of film tax credits so that things will record here. So offering our services to help coach kids on set or coach actors on set, that's something else that we have our eyes on.
Yes, so I know you said your business started near the end of the pandemic. But did the pandemic impact your business, or maybe the pandemic helped your business at all?
So we started kind of like as things were returning to normal. So I would say actually, if anything, the pandemic has boosted our business a little bit. The reason I would say that, number one, is because a lot of young students lost a lot of time interacting with one another socially. So a lot of parents, while we were recovering from the pandemic, were trying to enroll them in acting and improv classes so that they could get that one-to-one experience with other kids. So I think that was really helpful. And just like a return to live performances as well. I think everyone kind of wanted to come back into doing things together. So even though I'd learned to teach acting over Zoom, it actually has been working out really well live in person.
How much easier is it in person than in Zoom, and how does it differ?
I don't know. I don't necessarily like. For me, I don't see it necessarily easier or harder. I like both. I helped coach a lot of actors over Zoom during the pandemic. I took a lot of classes as an actor during the pandemic, and I think it's really solid for on-camera acting. I think it's really, really good for self-tape auditions, learning your eye lines, how you look on camera, because most of the time, like, I don't know, maybe I'm a vain person, but most of the time that I'm on Zoom, I'm like checking out myself. I'm like, what do I look like? Am I like coming across like I actually care, like all that stuff? So when you actually take an acting class on Zoom, it's good because you're constantly looking at yourself, which is funny because all acting teachers prior to the pandemic would say, don't look at recordings of yourself. Don't like look at yourself in the mirror because you're trying to control the performance. I think it actually gave a lot of actors some freedom to, express themselves in other ways. But in person, it's just fun because things can get wild. I guess in person could be a little bit harder because I can't mute people in real life like Click. So I have to get the students to focus in other ways. But I like it either way.
So I know for me on Zoom, I was silent. I didn't talk. I was in my inner shell. How do you have your students break out of their inner shell and virtual?
I had to improvise improv games for the camera. So I'd have things where people would turn their camera off and only one person would come on, and people would be in the comments asking questions or like commenting on things, or then I'd have two people come on and do the scene. It did split focus sometimes, especially like if you're doing like a scene and some people have to not do anything in the background. But there were other fun activities, like we did scavenger hunts and they had to find something in their household that they turned into a character, and so that became really interactive. It's kind of like rolling with the punches, right? Tomorrow's going to bring another thing, whether that's a new piece of technology or whether it's a new way of doing things or a restriction to old way of doing things, and we just have to constantly figure out how to roll with the punches and be resilient and find the next thing.
So lots of businesses have challenges. Is there any setback that you faced which impacted your business?
Yeah. What has impacted my business the hardest and most are the things that people don't see, right? It's the personal. When you have a 9-to-5 job where you have a boss and everything is laid out for you, you know all the tasks that you have to do, you have the checklist every single day. For me, when I had those jobs, it's easier to face tragedy, or it's easy to face personal setbacks, because then you can just turn your mind off while you go with the ebb and the flow. Now, like this past year, I had to face a couple of losses personally, to be honest with you, and so that has taken a setback because I can't get just back into a rhythm, right? You have to get up every single day and find a way to motivate yourself. You have to say, okay, I'm a little bit down today. I can only get 3 of these big things done, not 6 of these big things. So I would say that balancing the personal is hard. And the other thing that sets back as a business is just the learning curves. Sometimes you know exactly which direction to go and exactly what you have to do and how much effort you have to put, and that's great. And sometimes you don't know. And the not known is kind of spooky, because then, I have to figure out the next direction. Yeah. I have to get that flashlight out and figure out what that journey's gonna be.
Yeah, so has those personal, you said it might have slowed you down. Has any of those personal setbacks made you work harder or even motivate you to say, okay, I'm gonna finish not only 6 but 8 of these things?
It depends. Personal setbacks can go either way for me. So when I get that boost of energy, it's incredible. For example, I'll share this part. I lost my German Shepherd this year. His name's Star-Lord, like Guardians of the Galaxy Star-Lord. And we were doing the Rising Star Resilience Project and the Rising Star Resilience Project. So every single time I saw it, I saw my dog's name in there. And even though I felt, upset, I felt like, all right, let me put so much effort into this project because I am doing it for him, right? So, yeah. Thank you for making me think about that.
Okay. So, acting is always changing. Like, maybe in last year, one specific type of acting was popular. This year, another one. How do you make sure to keep up with trends?
How do I try to keep up with trends? Storytelling is classic.
Yeah.
right? You're always going to have your suit, your three-piece suit. It's always going to be in style no matter what. I think that there are fundamentals of acting that are going to be in style no matter what. Now, I feel like a lot of art forms go back and forth between this extreme to that extreme constantly, right? So something that I see happen like cyclically in acting a lot is going from being very, very expressive, and we're gonna bring everyone in with how expressive we're gonna be. And then we went through an age, especially when like the cameras got too good and you didn't want to see all that, where we had to slow things down. And you only thought with your eyes, and how cool and expressive can you be with little, right? And then TikTok came back out and it's like, wham bam, we gotta make things big, and that's how you get the attention, because I only got 6 seconds to get you. So things change, the technology changes, but I feel like there's a way to marry the classics and learning how to tune that dial that no matter what, you can figure out what's the right approach, if that makes sense.
You mentioned multiple styles of film there. Which has been the easiest to teach for you, and which one has been the hardest to teach?
Ooh, classic, like, well, I feel like commercial acting is the easiest to teach, because it's like, all right, how do I make sure I look like I love a product? Well, it's food. I love mac and cheese. It tastes so good. Oh, is that maple bacon in there? That's delicious, right?
Yeah.
I feel like commercial acting is the easiest to teach. TikTok acting, I feel like, is the hardest, because to me, no offense to anyone that listens to it, it comes across as not as genuine. But also, I come across as not genuine to some people, because like I'm more of a flamboyant person, so I get it. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's too close to who I am for me to be able to teach it. I don't know, but I feel like TikTok's the hardest thing to teach for in social media.
So we are in the TikTok age right now.
Yeah.
So if, say, a specific student wants to learn TikTok, and maybe you're not as good, what are those? Is that a specific challenge you face?
Well, I think it comes back to like, I can teach the classics still, so I can teach, you know, how to make sure that the framing is right for things. I can teach storytelling. But other than that, I do have some personal connections that are TikTok influence and TikTokers, so I can always ask them for advice. My sister-in-law, Gabs, she's Sloth Girl. I don't know if she does mukbanging. She's really cool. Do you know, I think it was last year, Cacio e Pepe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my sister-in-law. So she's come in and did a masterclass with my students once, which was kind of cool. So if there are setbacks, you need to figure out who else can help teach you and steer you in the right direction.
So, business. How important is business for acting?
Oh my gosh, it's so important.
Yeah.
You can't act and you can't continue your acting career if you're not paying the bills.
Yeah.
Right? You can't go to acting classes without having money to pay for acting classes, unfortunately, right? So there's a struggle in that regard. Now, I like thinking of acting as a business, right? What are your income streams and what are you, what's your expenses, right? So for me, right out of college, I knew that commercial acting paid the most. A lot of actors don't want to do commercial acting because it's not real, it's not the Marvel, it's not the Star Wars, it's not like there's the good storytelling, but it pays the bills. There are these things called residuals. And so if you're in a SAG commercial that's like a national commercial, they pay you every single time it airs. So my goal was to get into a couple of those commercials so that I could continue pursuing acting in a larger way. So then I did my Firehouse Subs national commercial, I was in a Heineken commercial, I did, I forgot what, I did a couple, I don't remember anymore. But those helped pay for theatrical pursuits because the musical theater shows and plays, they don't pay as much. Movies, even though they're big and flashy and in your face, it depends on what your role is and how big it gets for your payday. So it can be a struggle, but you have to be mindful about it. What are the income streams? Do you have to take this job that's not acting so that you can keep paying the bills while you go to class? Yeah, sometimes that's it, and then your audition will come. I also worry on the flip side of it is that I know way too many actors that pull out right before they were gonna get something big, or at least I felt like they were gonna get something big because they had all these auditions coming up, and I've seen some of my friends, and then, but that's just life, right? We figure out what our priorities are, and if our priority isn't the pursuit of acting or entertainment anymore, then life will bring us other joys.
Yeah. So, as an actor, name, image, and likeness is important, and of course, you want your actors that you're teaching to be important. How important is it to promote the name, image, and likeness of your actors?
how important for me to promote their likeness?
Say I'm one of your students. How important would it be for you to promote your own name, image, and likeness, but also their own name, image, and likeness?
That's an interesting question, and I guess I've always been thinking about it, kind of, sort of. Especially with my students that are kids, I don't want to push them externally on social media, because they might have restrictions on their own use of social media, and plus, like, social media can get down that rabbit hole. So it's difficult in terms of them. So I try to talk about the successes they've had without necessarily naming them. But in terms of likeness and image for yourself, it's so important. I talk to my students all the time about AI and making sure that if you're doing a voiceover contract, that you have an AI writer in your contract, so then they're not training another robot based on your voice so that they can do your voice over and over and over again.
So you start at the end of the pandemic. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. Wood.
There's no wood. Oh, over there.
Oh yeah.
We'll get that later.
Okay. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Say now the pandemic was to start. Are there any strategies you'll do to make sure your business is not get impacted in any way?
Zoom, mask, test. I feel like there are certain strategies that really worked. But even like last year, people were still getting COVID. I got COVID last year, of course. But a couple of my students were getting sick, and I said, you know what, this week we're going to turn it virtual. Even though it wasn't in the middle of the pandemic anymore, it was just the right choice to make. So I feel like the shift to Zoom, because we've done it already, I feel would be a lot easier. We had a strengthened communication since the pandemic, so I feel like that would make it easier. So the hardest part would just be not seeing all the students grow up in person anymore. Then we're going to go back to Zoom land, and then they're going to come out, and they're going to be have as much facial hair as I do, you know?
Yeah. So you started this business about 2.25 years ago. Would you do anything different if you were to restart your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know how I was saying before in my one answer that like I feel like art and acting always goes between, it oscillates between extremes. I feel like for me in business, as a small business, I keep going from simplifying the amount of things that I offer to expanding to simplifying. I feel like Apple does that too. I feel like phones do that too. They get bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. So like at the beginning, I tried to offer so many courses. And then I realized, all right, let's really focus in on the summer camps, on the NextGen Acting class, where it's all about voiceover and on-camera things. And then, as that grew, expand back out. But then expand so much, and then you have to focus back in again. So I feel like the theme behind all my answers today in this interview has been rolling with the punches. Not everything is going to last forever, so it's learning how to improv. It's saying yes and to life.
Has there any life lessons you've learned through acting that has really stuck with you? Through this NextGen Acting, which really stuck with you?
In terms of acting, what has stuck with me is a couple of things. Number one is it is so important to listen. I feel like 90%, well, in interviewing, this is so important for you, so sorry that I'm talking so much. But in acting land, you have to listen so much. 90% of acting is reacting. Making sure that, that cue that they gave you is something and now I'm going to act upon it, right? So like, for example, let's say you're my dad and I want ice cream from you and I'm a teenage, or let's say I'm in middle school. Dad, I want ice cream.
We have ice cream at home.
Oh, nice, right? So like right across, you acted surprised and then happy, and I was like, okay, I can talk to my dad about that. He likes that. That's the follow-up. So 90% of acting is reacting. Based on that small look, I knew as that character that I can pursue it. Let's say it looked like you were stressed out or you were angry.
Okay, I'm not stressed out.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah?
I want ice cream.
Inflation, I have bills to pay. Ice cream might not be the best option. What if I bake some cookies?
Okay, I like cookies.
Yeah.
Right. So hey, yes, and you roll with the punches too. But like, we always have to try a different tactic for how our characters are going to get things based on that reaction. You know?
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot what the question was.
Life lesson.
Life lessons. So I feel like learning to listen, because we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. Number 2 is making the other person look good. your job as an actor isn't to make sure that you come across as the best person in the room. It's to make sure that the other person looks good, and together you're matching that storytelling. Make sure you're not upstaging one another. And then 3, you never know where people are coming from. You know, every single time that I research a character, I help one of my students research a character, you ask questions and then you start feeling for them. And I feel like if we can just expand other people's mindset into thinking that just on their day-to-day life, that there's a story behind why that person gave you a weird look. And it doesn't have to do with you. You don't have to take it personally. And then overall, number 4, rejection. Rejection isn't personal. I've auditioned 1,000 times this year, and I've gotten a handful of jobs or callbacks or whatnot. Whenever I finish an audition, I let it go, and it's into the universe, and what's mine will be mine. So those are a couple of things that I learned from both ends. And with NextGen Acting, I learned how important it is for students to feel heard and listened to. Regardless of acting or anything, I feel like our world lately has been designed in a way that no one listens to kids or teens anymore. And once you start listening to them and hearing their stories and seeing how talented they are and how much they could change the world, you're gonna have hope for this world. Yeah. Spend 30 minutes with teenagers and actually listen to them and actually be curious about what they want in the world, and you will know that the world's gonna be a good place.
Okay. As a business owner, what advice would you give someone who also wants to make an acting school when they grow up?
Do it.
Yeah.
What's gonna stop you? I would say start small. Yeah. Start in a community way. I feel like if I didn't start just with East Brunswick in mind and making sure that I was reaching out to East Brunswick schools, and I grew up in Sayreville, so I was very close, so I knew the whole entire Middlesex County community, so it was easier for me. So I would say know your community and then utilize your community as much as possible, and also figure out ways that you can give back and grow your community, because it shouldn't be a take relationship. It should be back and forth.
Okay, so as this podcast is coming to an end, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so hard. There's so many movies.
Yeah.
Can you tell me yours while I think? Can I filibuster for a second?
Pink Panther 1 or Pink Panther 2. Have you watched those movies?
Yeah. I love Pink Panther 1 and 2. Doombaga!
Funniest movie ever, in my opinion.
I love them. I have a weird one, Cloud Atlas, Tom Hanks. It's based on a book. Yeah. And there's 6 stories taking place in different timelines, and then in each timeline, the actors are playing different characters in each timeline, and it's all about like past lives and future lives. And I love it because I have this obsession with the idea that actors can play any role, and any role can be played by an infinite amount of actors. I call it my multiversal acting theorem, and I feel like that movie really encapsulates that idea. And plus, Tom Hanks is great.
Is Tom Hanks your favorite actor of all time?
No.
Who's your favorite actor of all time?
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite?
Let me think. This is hard. I like Chris Rock a lot.
Chris Rock's good.
Kevin Hart's pretty good.
Kevin Hart's good.
Jack Black. I like Jack Black.
Jack Black is the best. Peaches.
Yeah. So what's your favorite genre of movies?
Genre. Comedy, probably.
Yeah.
There's not enough comedy movies lately either.
I love comedy movies. I like comedy, action, and sometimes chick flicks aren't bad either.
Hey, what's your favorite chick flick?
I don't remember chick flicks off the top of my head. I'm terrible with names.
Gossip Girl?
Yeah, I like.
Oh, that TV show? Oh, I love Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Gossip Girl's I love the classic, The Notebook.
Yeah, The Notebook.
That one made me cry. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm a huge crier when it comes to movies.
You got to.
Yeah.
I cry even when it's not a sad movie because I'm just so inspired.
Yeah.
Did you see Inside Out 2?
Inside Out. I watched Inside Out 1, not Inside Out 2.
Oh, it's now on Disney Plus.
I don't have Disney Plus either.
Okay, get someone's password.
Yeah, I'm a huge crier when it comes to movies. Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
I cried a lot. The Titanic.
Oh yeah, you can't cry.
Yeah.
You can't not cry at that movie. Oh my god. Or any James Cameron movie. Yeah. And people are hating on the Avatar movies. I like the Avatar movies.
You know what's funny? I've never watched Avatar before.
You have to. Oh, and when the next one comes out, you have to see it in IMAX because it just like
They're like right
it
next
blows
to
your way. It blows your way. It's nuts.
So, as the podcast is coming in, thank you so much for doing
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
It was a great joy to do it with you.
Yeah, it was so wonderful meeting you. Best of luck on your future of your podcast. And please come back in and talk again soon.
Do you want to plug in some events you have planned, your website?
Yeah, absolutely.
Contact you?
Yeah, I'll do some plugs. So we're NextGen Acting. You can go to nextgenacting.com. We're going to be at East Brunswick Day next Sunday from 12 to 4. We are going to be starting our classes October 5th. We've got some adult activities coming up at the East Brunswick Public Library, a game of deception on October 16th, a voiceover workshop on October 23rd, and a monster voiceover audition spooky for Halloween on October 30th. So come on down to the East Brunswick Public Library for that. And then we'll have some more news soon. I look forward to seeing you all there.
Okay. Thank you guys and have a great day.